Everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing a video today, and this is going to be something that I feel like is one of the most important videos I've ever done on this channel, and that's not hyperbole. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like I feel like this is kind of the precipice of where we're at here. Um, I just see this going down, whatever is going on with all this stuff around the world with the virus is what I'm talking about again. I can't get away from it. I'm trying to get away more for it. I'm trying to get more into my new age stuff I've been into. I'm definitely getting more into music. I've done more music. Visit my Mata Warrior 777 channel. I have a new project called Bone Crusher, not the rapper. The whole story about that is that I play this role playing game, World of Darkness, and I play this like teenage metalhead Hesher from the '80s. In the '80s, he's 17. So you have a juvenile band, name like Bone Crusher. It's kind of supposed to be from '84. It's like retro thrash black metal. It sounds like shit. It was supposed to sound like shit. It's done with my cheapest Clary guitar. There's some clipping on the vocals that I want to fix. But I do everything. I took the drums from this guitar profile and just like fucked with it, and it was a Bathory. It was a Bathory song, but I put a little. It doesn't sound. You would not be able to tell, but I did a lot of stuff with the MIDI and stuff, and I fucked around with it. But I recorded guitar and bass and vocals over it. But anyways, that's not what this video is about. So yeah, I'm doing a lot more music anyways, but I'm going to be finishing my album for Pathless Land pretty soon too. Well, this video is about the crisis with the virus and a book that I read 2 years ago a little over 2 years ago. It was like maybe about April, May of 2019, I believe. It was called The Best and the Brightest, and it's by this guy, Halberstam. He's a journalist that wrote this book, and I believe it was finished in 72, 73. I'd have to take a look. I do have it in my library over there. I have a huge library of books, obviously. And this book kind of goes into a lot of stuff. One of the things that it goes is like kind of the whole progression of the Vietnam War and how it went, as far as from the earliest days like of Vietnam, even a little bit with the French colonial period. And it goes over like what happened in that period and what kind of nationalistic movements popped up in that period of time. I know Ho Chi Minh was actually helped by the OSS for a while and around the World War II era, and then we kind of backed down from that. I don't think we were like fighting the French or anything like that, but there was a lot of complicated geopolitical conflicts and kind of ties that happened at that point in time. But for the most of the part, the book was based on this idea, this sarcastic take on this idea that only the best and the brightest will succeed and go into these political and corporate careers and military careers and stuff. So it's about this group of people that were in the Eisenhower, maybe even before JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson, and somewhat the Nixon administrations, and about their handling of the war in Vietnam. And one of the things that I took away from reading that book is that the whole war was just like this quagmire. Obviously, I mean, that's oh no shit, Matt, of course. But it seemed like it was almost like if you ever use like I have a lot of skin issues and stuff. If I ever use like too much of some kind of skin lotion or whatever, I will break out worse than I would if I used a little bit. And it's just like they threw all this stuff, all this trying to win the hearts and minds. And I'm going to go into this in a minute, and I'm hoping this is not too verboten for YouTube. I think there's a really important parallel with this whole concept of the Vietnam War and COVID being kind of a similar thing. That's just period. That's what I'm saying, YouTube. I'm not talking about any medical misinformation. You know, I'm talking about the political, social, and philosophical underpinnings of that kind of statement. And they threw everything at it, right? They, bombs, everything short of nuclear missiles, of course, right? I mean, they were talking about it for a while too, but it just like was this endless war, circular war, and there was all these excuses and all these it just was like something that was not going to end. I mean, the U.S.'s longest war is Afghanistan, but second to longest is pretty much Vietnam. Vietnam was a lot more intense than a lot of Afghanistan because tens of thousands of people more died in Vietnam as far as on the U.S. side, and probably a good 1 million to 2 million people died in the Vietnam War on their side. So talk about Vietnam, and it's just what it is are these experts in charge that were well trained, in their sciences or, their business degrees and all this stuff, or, their MBA or their political science or statistics or computer science sometimes or whatever. And they are supposed to be predicting troop levels and what are the Viet Cong going to do next, or what are they going to take over next. So, and no matter what they do on every turn, sometimes things seem a little bit more optimistic, but then at every turn, we're going to win, we're finally going to win, we're finally going to turn the corner. Everything just goes to shit, and everything just goes down again. And there's so many parallels with this and COVID, because you look at all these things, Australia and New Zealand just totally like killing pet dogs in Australia because of COVID. Just completely losing their fucking collective minds over there. Arresting kids for drinking together outside. Giving people fines for leaving their house. That's the most extreme end of this, type of fascistic idea. Of course, we have the opposite is maybe Sweden or Texas or Florida. And, there's a lot of problems with that, of course, but, it's like, you look at the statistics of California, New York, New Jersey, and the numbers of deaths and everything. And over time, at least maybe up until the current variants and stuff, they were on equal level with completely different policy. They were, New York was number one for a while, California was number one. It's like the Billboard hits of COVID deaths and cases, right? It's like top 10, whoever's top 10 that week, and it's like, the Grammy goes to DeSantis, right? For the hit, because he's the worst, right? Oh yeah, he's the worst. And you look at, he's not. That's what I'm trying to say. There's people, you look at all these and number of compliance. 95% of people in San Francisco or something wear the mask. Still their cases are through the roof, or they're locked down. People are isolating. They're still getting cases. It's like no matter what they throw at this thing, it keeps popping up like a bad case of hemorrhoids or herpes or whatever, and no matter what, it's like pouring that. It's like the whole thing with the, putting too much of something. It just like it stops working if you do too much of something. It's so patchwork across the world. Nobody's united on, people are so selfish, they don't want to sacrifice anything. It's like, well, what about that whole thing with the patent waivers? Fauci said, I'm agnostic about it. It's like, okay, all right, maybe there's reasons for that. Like, okay, maybe the factories wouldn't be on the highest levels of quality that big pharma would have or whatever, right? Maybe it wouldn't be on the same level, okay? I have to be careful with this video. But at the same time, you know, it's like, why are you agnostic about it? What is stopping you? Who are you defending? When he did that earlier, I think it was April, May, he talked about that. Finally, Biden relented and said, no, we're going to waive the patents. Now, EU and some other countries are still not wanting to do that, which is ironic because EU actually is, if you look at their, passport, it's actually a lot different than what they're trying to do in the United States because previous infection is also part of it, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, nevertheless, the war goes on. There's a lot of it's just like it's like going in circles. Start all over again, go in circles. It's all over the place. You're trying to win the hearts and minds of the hesitant. There's some people that are completely out of their minds and think that people that are hesitant should just die or not be treated for medical conditions related to the virus or not. They should just take them out of society. You know how many people have a friend or family member that won't take it? It's astronomical number of people. And it's like, they're talking about people that want to, who are these people that are saying these on Twitter and stuff? These people are absolute scum saying these things. And they don't understand. Okay, so if you're fed on a diet of soy, CNN, MSDNC, and whatever bad liberal arts degree that you have, and you're like 22 and you have blue hair, you're more obese than I am, and you have those glasses, and you voted for Biden, but you think you're woke and stuff, and you think Glenn Greenwald is a right-winger, then okay, so maybe you have this opinion then the people that are hesitant should die, or that they're selfish people for questioning a fucking government and the health apparatus has continually lied. Not just with this, they've lied all. There is so much corruption in the government and corporations that who would trust anything? I took the damn thing, okay? I did. There was a threat of force against me because they said that I'd be back in my, at my job's call center. And if I was back there, I'd have to wear the mask if I didn't take it. So I decided, well, I'm 43 years old. I'm obese. I'm not going to get any younger anytime soon. I'm going to take the least threatening one to me that's closer to one that they've experimented with before. For example, I think with Ebola, they had a vector one that they used, and then there was a couple other times. They've developed the other one for years. So they haven't really tested on a large population of humans, have they? So that said, I told you why I took it. That said, and there was also the promise of freedom, as far as not mandates, but just basically just being able to do your thing. If just these coronitarian fascists that are trying to push these mandates on people, I can say, well, I've had it. I could speak. It's like one of those things. It's like you're bridging the gap between the people that I'm defending people's liberties by saying, well, I'm a person. It's just like when, like back in the day, if a Republican said they were against the Patriot Act, it's like someone would be like, oh wow, he's a Republican, but he's I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, but I got the jab either way. And coming more and more, I don't know if I would have had it if I knew what would have resulted with our society as far as what's going on right now with it. People calling for people's death. People saying, oh, well, if they're not, and people thinking that it's all these white Trump supporters that are causing variants. The media making it seem like that. When India had it was like 2 weeks ago, it was like 9% of people had the jab. Okay? Like 9% of people there. And other countries are similar rates. Like I think it's 13% of like the global south are actually have had the jab. And whose fault is that? Okay, bureaucrats, politicians, world leaders, even the head of the WHO said that the booster thing for healthy people is completely insane in lieu of this lack of getting the jab out there. And now we're talking about that. The BIGPHAMRA are talking about that. Like, oh, we gotta have it. And then you're looking at the studies, you're like, well, what do we care about? Getting sick at all? No. I mean, some of these people are. I was on OkCupid the other day, and this girl was like, I can't wait to get the booster. And she's like, definitely obese, and just, one kind of a woman that I kind of described earlier. And like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? So it's ridiculous. I mean, there's Paul Orford and all these people calling out, BIGPHAMRA, excuse me. They're calling it out because they're saying there's no reason for healthy people necessarily to get this shit. All these medical authorities that are equally on Fauci's level, like Paul Orford and forgot the name of the other guy who was like a FDA jabba dabba do. I'm using code words again because I'm trying. This is a really thin line I'm walking on this video. I'll see if this stays up or not. So there's a thin line. So, but anyways, back to the idea that this is Vietnam, because Vietnam was a quagmire and it was a clusterfuck of massive proportions. The thing is that they're not going to win the hearts and minds of those terrible Viet Cong that are, so uninformed, the lower classes of people, the people, the guerrilla fighters that are, outrunning the Marines or whatever. They're not gonna do it, because this is like Vietnam so many ways, because people are not gonna stand for this shit too much longer. I mean, look at what's happening with these protests in Australia and France and Spain and Italy, and people just don't want to follow along. And who can blame them after all the malfeasance that world government has done in the last 50 years? The Western governments, I mean. Who can blame them? Who can blame them after Vietnam, after all this stuff happened, after all these lies that these governments have done, all these corporations have taken over everything in your life? Who can blame them? The fight is real. Now, does that mean I don't think you should get the jabba dabba do, as I'm calling it now, because I want to use the more code words like in previous videos? That's up to you. I think if you think you're at risk, you have to assess that. If you think this is a bad thing to do, you have to look into that. If you think it's going to save, like, if it's going to help in the long run, like with getting the whatever down, then you have to make that decision for yourself. I made my choice. I do regret it to some extent after what's happening, after I've seen what's happening with just the divisiveness and the hatred and just the horrible, just the toxicity, excuse me for using more modern words like that, or modern usage of words like that. But it's just kind of ridiculous. And yeah, I think we're going to throw the kitchen sink at this fucking thing. It's not going to end until we just accept that it's here to stay. And they're starting to say that. The media is starting to shift again. Now, they're going to try to backtrack, of course, some of the media, and be like, well, maybe if we do this will stop it. Maybe if we do this will stop it. It's like, it's not gonna win. It's invisible, it's all around. It's like the Force in Star Wars. It's all around. It's not going away. You're not gonna get to 0 cases, ever. It's impossible. There would have to be a miracle, like Jesus would have to return or whatever. They'd have to have some kind of super They, you know, who knows what they have secretly, but they'd have to have some super serum that you took that completely eliminated it from your body or something. But it's not going to happen. So it's here to stay, just like the war in Vietnam. It's going to be here, you know, as far as what they're going to do with the, you know, repetitive shots, which that's something that freaks me out, honestly, because it's like, what's the point of getting this thing injected in me if I have to do it every few months? I've asked this question a million times. I think people are starting to say this. They're starting to look at this thing like, well, what's the point then? You know? And just the propaganda for the Jabba Dabba Doo the whole propaganda was like, this is going to get us back to normal. Just take it. It's going to get us back to normal. Well, I guess it's not then. What the fuck? You know, I am confused as anybody about what's going on. Now, I'm presenting that side of people that are against the repetitive boosting of the thing for healthy people. And I'm presenting that side because a lot of those people are very professional. And I think I don't think Paul Orfit, the other name escapes me, as someone that worked, these people are top level people that are saying that this is like, what are you talking about? Like a booster every few months or something? You're insane. People have T cells and B cells. Why would, with the shot, what the hell are you talking about? These people would be the most compromised from a conspiratorial angle that are talking against it. But Fauci's going along with it, of course, because he loves double masks and triple shots and quadruple and all that stuff. So of course that guy's a fucking moron. But yeah, so it's like, I wonder what Osterholm thinks about it too. But I would not be surprised if he had a more nuanced take on it. But anyways, than like Fauci or something. But the whole thing is, it's an unwinnable war at this point. It's like, we've got to just stop these extreme actions that hurt people's lives. We've got to think about mitigating this in a better way. It's gotten out of hand. People are just at each other's throats. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it kept going for 5 years if there was actually a civil war between people, like an actual bloody, like with guns. And you know what, I would be on the side of people that want people to fucking be left alone, be able to make their own choices. That's just the way it goes. Does that make me selfish? Perhaps. You know, I've had to face a lot of shit even before this happened. Everything in my life that was starting to go wrong happened December of 2019. And I'm not going to go into all the stuff that happened in that month. But it was, that's when my shitstorm started. And then it was exacerbated in January, February, March, of course, because that just was a period of time that went to shit. And I started out 2019 really wanting to just grab life by the balls and squeeze the capillaries out of the balls. You know, I was really like trying to change my life at that point, but things went to shit in my life. And there's a lot of things that are really shitty right now that I'm trying to get fixed too. Not a jabby jab, but a jobby job. But anyways, so yeah, I think this is like a Vietnam quagmire kind of thing. I think no matter what we do, there's going to be consequences from, ongoing as far as this goes. I think we need to, one thing, I was watching the Vanguard, it's a leftist channel. I watch a lot of leftist channels now. I watch a lot of right-wing channels. I love I don't know why I have this thing for Six and Hammer's commentary and his books. It's great. Now, I consider myself a leftist, but on some level, but it's like he points out the hypocrisy of the left, and he points out a lot of the inconsistencies. Spot on. I will give him credit. And then I watch a self-proclaimed Marxist-Leninist, Jackson Hinkle, all the time too, for similar reasons. Is this the horseshoe theory at work? I don't know. Whatever. I don't give a shit. I like what I like. I don't care. I'm not going to make apologies for it. But anyways, that's on a whole other subject. But yeah, it's not gonna stop. I mean, it looks like it's gonna be endemic, and that's the thing. Like that's the withdrawal of the troops from Vietnam. You know, that's the embassy. You know, the what happened. You know, just like the Afghanistan thing with the meme that was the same helicopter, or similar helicopter that was escaping from the embassy in Vietnam. Just like when the fall of Saigon kind of stuff. The fall of Saigon will come when this becomes declared endemic, which already they're doing that. You know, some commentators and epidemiologists and stuff. So, what are we going to do about this though? We're gonna, you know, are we going to rescind some of these policies like, oh, you have to do this every few months, or you're going to have to wear a mask for the rest of your life because this threat, you know, of a new variant might come back, or you know, some of these places, just like Madison, Wisconsin, like, oh my God, the variants, oh my God, you know, and we've had like 3 deaths since April or May, and they reintroduced the mask mandate. It's probably that variant has probably been here for months, or at least a month, and they reintroduced the mask mandate like a few weeks ago, and it's like, okay, so what are we going to do after this? People are getting rightfully pissed at this stuff. Bartell Theater is like, why do we have a mask mandate for our performers? That's stupid. Then there's this place I was going to do open mic at that said, we're closing down the karaoke and the open mics because of the mask thing. It's like, there were one that didn't require a passport like a few other places are starting to do here. And even though I've had the jab, I'm not going to fucking support those places because I do not believe that should be the precedent that is pushed. Now, that said, I have a little more sympathy if they say it's temporary, or for events that provide, you know, the option for a negative test, even though, you know, the tests are flimsy to some extent. Not flimsy, but, you know, a little wishy-washy at times. You know, there were a lot of solutions during the whole thing that, you know, I thought they should have gone with. People were like, you just want to open things up and have people die. No, I never said that. I never said that completely. As far as like, I don't think we should be 100% like Sweden or Florida necessarily. But, you know, one thing that like Dr. Michael Mina of Harvard, he was always talking about the rapid strip tests, and that never caught on. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go to a Walgreens or CVS pharmacy for $20 and get these little strips, and you can spit on it and know if you have the virus or not. There's no legitimately good reason for that. That you still have to do the nasal swab. They have these home test kits. They never caught on because they're like $80, $60. It's fucking ridiculous. They should have had these cheap tests all around. There should be like condoms that are fucking. I was gonna say something politically incorrect, but you know, condoms at a frat house. You know, it should be all around. I should have a box right here of rapid strip tests, C virus tests, but that didn't happen for whatever reason. I blame Big Pharma. You know, I think that should have been a thing. I think that should have been a definite. I don't know if it would be a way out, but it would be a way through a lot of the bullshit that's happened. Because you could, you know, like there was someone that I know recently, they were possibly positive with the virus, and they tested negative, but instead of having to go to the doctor to get that swab and all that shit, they could have just spit on this thing. Oh, it's negative. Well, we'll try another one, and we'll try another one. The balance of all 3, we'll figure it out, you know. Oh no, you know. Oh, I'm starting to feel a little sick too. Okay, then we're probably sick. Okay, and then you could stay home, and that would be it. But no, you have to go through this bureaucratic bullshit to get a test. There's no widespread testing for this shit. I mean, there was actually. They tore down all the testing facilities because they thought the miracle, the shot. How are they gonna rebuild all that shit now? Tear down buildings for that stuff, and then you're gonna fucking you know how expensive that shit is? People are so this is a crisis of unparalleled proportions, and Vietnam is a good comparison. That's what I'm saying. And who is the Robert McNamara of Vietnam? Well, Anthony Fauci. He is the Robert McNamara of the modern Vietnam War, is what I'm comparing it to. I just would read this book because this book, Best and the Brightest, is one of the best books I've ever read about politics, because it just totally sums up the incompetency of many people and technocrats and people that are, and I did my article on Substack about this that mentioned this, but the human element is always missed by these people. They're in these bubbles and they don't deal with the common person. Did Robert McNamara go at once like hide him on he would if he was like a journalist, he'd go with the North Vietnamese and write about him and figure him out and say, oh, this is the way to win the war or something like that. You know what I mean? No, he didn't. No, he's just this guy that was an elite college, went to elite colleges. These people, they go to elite colleges, they're upper middle class or upper class. They're in this ideological bubble, and they don't see the forest from the trees, or however the term goes. I'm bad with some cliche terms sometimes. Forest for the trees, forest from the trees, whatever. They don't see it. They don't understand that people are human beings. They're not machines, they're not numbers, they're not cases, they're not statistics, So reading through these documents in this book about Vietnam, it was just appalling how mechanistic that they made it. And I'm sure they're doing that with the virus too. And that's the wrong way to go about things. You have to go from a human perspective, a humanist quote unquote perspective, a social perspective. When in Biden's C virus response team have sociologists, psychologists, labor leaders, people like that? It's all medical people. They're in their own bubble. They have their own biases and own ideological constraints and interests. That's how things work. Okay, maybe one of them owns a stock in one of the companies, right? It doesn't mean they're like conspiring with the company to make sure things are mandatory. It just means that their interest leans towards that because they've been in this bubble for so long. Conspiracies don't happen the way that neither conspiracy theorists nor conspiracy skeptics, or as I call them, coincidence theorists, would have it. They happen in this weird, banal, kind of more nuanced, frankly, boring way a lot of the time. I mean, I don't think Dick Cheney had a remote control that he blew up the towers with or something. It wasn't like that. But these confluence of factors, as Alex Berenson, the most controversial skeptic in this crisis, one of the most controversial skeptics in this crisis, he calls it a confluence of factors, and that's pretty spot on, of anything. So no, it's not like that. But these technocrats, these technocratic health professionals think that they're doing something right, and there's always this tendency of people to want to feel like they're doing something correct, want to feel like they're doing something just to be doing something, even if it's dumb as shit. Just like the restaurant thing. You go into a restaurant, you're supposed to have a mask on, and then you sit down, you take off your mask for an hour or half an hour or whatever, and then if you go to the bathroom, you wear a mask. If they actually followed the science, they would have it, you not wearing a mask, go in there. But when you eat, when you're sitting down for an hour, longer period of time, more airflow is going through, longer period of time eating your food, you would not be wearing, would be wearing a mask, or you had some kind of special mask for that. But no, when restaurants were left open to some extent, or limited capacity now, that is something that probably does work to some extent. But does anything in Madison have limited capacity anymore, other than some places being tight asses about if you had the jab or not? No. You still go to a bar, but you have to wear the mask. It's like, it just totally defeats the purpose. It's a lot of these things are so convoluted and confusing, and contradictory that no wonder there's a huge crisis. Nobody attacks that though. Nobody that I know, friends or family, they're always following the media, CNN, telling them, oh, well, if people don't get the jab, that's what's causing this problem. Why don't you fucking punch up for once? These liberals I grew up with, they were always attacking the man, always talking about the elites, always saying that the news is lying. They're falling ass backwards and just apologizing day after day for the bullshit that we've been fed for 2 years, or longer than that, because the Bernie thing and stuff. I'm just gonna throw that in there. It's a little sore point that I have. So yeah, I mean, and some of the Russiagate stuff. Well, they've been lying to us for years, but friends and family, they're just like rolling over for all this stuff. I'm just like, and they have. I'm sure that some of them have the gall to say that I've changed. Mr. Paul Thompson 9/11 timeline from 2003 on. I've changed because I don't believe in all the bullshit about all these contradictions, lies, and hypocrisies. No, you changed. You changed. You've started to believe the lies that they're doing, and it doesn't mean that it's all a big conspiracy. It doesn't mean that it's all consciously done, but it's either way, the result is the same. That's what matters. Just like in Iraq and 9/11 going into Iraq, it's like, well, it doesn't mean they're all like, people sitting in a smoke-filled room, these white men, crusty old white men, trying to carve up the world amongst themselves. But the result was the same, would have been the same. It doesn't matter that it was a conspiracy or not. It doesn't matter that it was consciously done or not. A lot of things are unconscious too. How do you account for that? There's unconscious biases, there's unconscious things. That's why, like when I argue with people about racial stuff sometimes, I'm not into like critical race theory and all that stuff, but I do believe in unconscious bias. There's no denying that exists. Now what you do about it is a different story. I'm not quite sure about what you should do about it, but it does exist. I mean, no doubt. I've known enough people, I hate to use the term people of color, but I'll use it, just be, whatever, that have had experiences that there's no other explanation. So it's anecdotal, but I know plenty of people that have, they're driving a normal car, and or there's just people that I've just over time, over history, I know that's real. So unconscious things happen. So unconscious and conspiracies could be not, what people call conspiracy could just be this unconscious biases towards a given goal or subject. Just like, said person wife has stock, or Rand Paul unfortunately has been exposed too with some of the stuff, but recently, but still doesn't mean I like him less than Fauci or something like that, or like him less than Fauci, I should say. Low battery. So what's going on here? Excuse me for that. So I don't think that necessarily, let's say said person works for the FDA, their wife is on the board of directors for some big PHARMA company, doesn't mean they're planning on the booster thing, like, yeah, we gotta make more money. No, it's like, oh, well, this looks like it would be helpful, and and then it's not even in their head. It may not be in the front of their mind, but it's in there somewhere, and that's the problem. It's in there somewhere. It's not a conscious thing that they're thinking necessarily. It's like, well, I work for this company and they're doing great things, and we can do this thing, and we can grow as a company morale. Oh wait, what is that? Profit, of course. But they're not going to say that. They're not going to even believe that necessarily it's all about profit. It's just, if you look from the outside, it's like someone could have a fucking, like, a giant zit in the middle of their head, and they won't see it, but they sort of know it's there. They could feel something's around there. I keep talking about weird skin stuff in this video, but whatever. But they know this, like, giant pus-filled zit is in their middle of their face. They don't know it's there. someone might have to point it out, but they know something's there. It's like these unconscious biases, these unconscious predilections, unconscious directions that people go in. So things, when someone simplifies things and breaks it down as evil big pharma versus people, it's not that simple. It's just a breaking it down as far as simplifying it for the common person to think of, even though it's way more complicated than that, obviously. But yeah, this is like the war in Vietnam. It's not going to be won until endemic status is achieved, and it's going to be. And what are we going to do then? We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep these mandates. We're going to keep all this shit. I had the best day of my life in a long time because I went to a place where I did not have to wear a mask. There was a county south of this county where I went all day. I went to grocery shopping. I went to a coffee shop where there was beautiful women around. Went to a record store. Nobody was wearing one. Am I gonna sit here and say, "Oh, those horrible, selfish morons in Janesville. I am better than I. They're better than you, thou, or better than thee, or whatever. Or I am better than you. I am so much better because I had the jab, and I'm wearing a mask, and I still don't go to huge gatherings to spread the virus to people. I am so high and mighty better than you. You're just a piece of shit. If you try to live your life normally, you're just a total piece of shit. Oh, I am so much better." If someone was like that in another area of your life, like just so snooty and smug and arrogant and self-absorbed and conceited, selfish. Ooh, they're selfish too, huh? Because they're so focused on one thing to the detriment of everything else, obviously, too. There's a lot of problems in the world, and the way that most problems are resolved, watch some of Russell Brand, another Gemini's videos. I mean, he talks about a lot of this stuff all the time. The compassion. Nobody has compassion for people that, have their wrong opinions. So these people that say all this stuff, if it was another area of life that they were saying this shit, you would want to get a brass knuckle and punch them in the fucking eye. For real. You would. The people that are saying all this stuff is increasing hesitancy. So it's like Vietnam. You think, these people think they're better than these savage Viet Cong in this country, these civilians, they're fighting, this guerrilla war, and you're so much better, you're so civilized, you're bringing capitalism to Vietnam of these savages, these savage people, win the hearts and minds. You just bomb them to smithereens over and over again, and you'll get rid of communism that way. Oh my God, the blood, Saigon, the pictures you see. That's just, we're fighting for the freedom of these Vietnamese that don't know that they want to be free. They're just stupid. They're just morons. Oh my God. Okay, so with the virus stuff, oh my God, they don't have the jab. They're so stupid. They're so selfish. They're so horrible. We need to convince them. The hearts and minds. They're so terrible people. Oh my God. Well, you can see why this won't be fucking won. That's all I gotta say. Peace out.